Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 159, Yohannes the Harper of the Depths. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining B. Dave Walters' table in the Levitating Platter.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting month's episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. It's the new year when we're listening to this episode, so happy new year, everyone, one and all. I've got a wonderful guest for you this month, but before I reveal who my mystery contestant is, I have to do it. I have to leave you in suspense with the first ad read.
This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 2 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to championing diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club, and this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph, and be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club.
All right. And without further ado, I turn the microphone over to my guest and I ask, hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to introduce yourself? Tell us who it is that you are and what is it you do?
See, that was the dozens and dozens of my fans cheering there. Yeah.
Awesome.
It is I, B. Dave Walters. If you're hearing this, we survived 2025. So muzzle, This is me from the past where I was filled with equal parts hope and dread.
Well, we definitely like to keep this podcast upbeat and positive for the good of all in the community and for fun. So I'm going to be optimistic.
Whoa, yeah. I'm busy knocking stuff over. Huzzah.
Yeah. So this is certainly a treat for me. I know at the time of this recording, we just recently had Tanya DePass's episode come out live, and so she encouraged me. Oh yeah, B Dave, he's my really good friend, and you should definitely reach out. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get B Dave Walters, but then sure enough, you accepted the invitation. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hey, listen. I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to make it onto Sidekicks and Side Quests. Like it is through a confluence of forces. We're both knocking stuff off the bucket list. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. As of the time of this recording, I won't say exactly when it is so we can preserve the movie magic, but I have to catch a 4 a.m. flight for a con. So, it's, no rest for the wicked.
Yes. Killer song as well by the Cage the Elephant. Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, for those of us that are not in the know, I think all of us are, but for those not in the know, the first question here, so who is B. Dave Walters and what is it that B. Dave Walters does?
So for time travelers who just arrived from 1999 and those who have just escaped the Soviet gulag, hi, hello, it is I, B. Dave Walters. I am first and foremost a storyteller. I was the first dungeon master with a campaign on television. I ran the game for the cast of Stranger Things on Netflix Geeked. I've written an official D&D comic, Dungeons and Dragons: A Dark and Wish. I've done, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of hours of streaming content, literally everywhere where fine streaming content can be located. All sorts of official stuff for WotC, for Paizo, for Chaosium. If you can think about it, I have done it. And I will say words about things anywhere somebody will turn on a microphone or a camera. And then I teach also how to run the game at a high level, how to play at a high level, how to design games, and how to write for film, television, novels, or graphic novels, because I've done all those things. I think it's the only people who have had a success in as many arenas of storytelling are like J. Michael Straczynski and Neil Gaiman and me. Although those guys have bigger bank accounts, but I'm a better person than at least one of them. But I've got my eye on you, Straczynski. So, yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. Yes.
I guess as of now, the Yard D&D is out and fairly new. Hopefully more episodes are still happening by the time this comes out. So there you go. There's also that.
Awesome. Yes. And of course, I know I've had a number of very awesome people from Demiplane also on the podcast historically as well. And so I know you've also been involved with our friends over at Demiplane as well.
Indeed, I have. I've done a lot of content for Demiplane. I was even on the payroll for a time over there. So yes, they're definitely good friends.
And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I, as we as a podcast learned from Tanya, you also, you did the Dark Dice, not Dark Dice. Sorry, the Dark. Why am I blanking on the name?
Black Dice Society.
The Black Dice Society. I know there's a Dark Dice podcast. A very similar name, very confusing. And then also you do killer stuff with Vampire the Masquerade as well.
I do. First of all, shout out to Travis and Caitlin from the Dark Dice podcast. They are also homies. They do really great work. The first time I met them was at D&D in a castle where they were recording the sound that the gates made when they creaked and slammed, so that they were going to use for Foley in their podcast. Yeah, I was the dungeon master for the Black Dice Society, which was an official D&D Ravenloft stream that ran for about 60 episodes. Very proud of that. Also was lead designer of Into the Motherlands as a project that Tanya and I worked on together. And yes, I was fortunate to play Baron Victor Temple on LA by Night and do quite a bit of vampire storytelling in my own right. So it's almost like I got a day persona and a night persona. I've been fortunate to do all the things.
I know. Yes. No. Your resume is like a mile long and it's impressive. And every podcast friend of mine, like my good buddy Andrew Strother, when he was doing Roll for Persuasion,
Yes.
and all the other great shows that I've listened to that you've spoken and guest on. You just you've got it going on. You're like a good genuine dude, and just again happy to have you on.
I appreciate that. My plan is working. They're all buying it. Good. Good.
Well, the dead giveaway of this podcast is obviously that it's Dungeons and Dragons related. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. Do you currently or have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons before?
Once or twice. Yes.
Yeah.
I travel all over the world running games at D&D. That's between writing for film and television and doing destination D&D games. That's kind of my thing. So yeah, I played a couple times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's got to be pretty awesome to be able to, travel and run D&D. I know everyone's like, "Oh, if you get on one of the big shows, like that's the highlight." I know like at the time of this recording, it hasn't aired yet, but like, campaign 4 for Critical Role's got like the big ambitious project with Brennan Lee Mulligan running, a West Marches style for 13 players at 3 different tables. So it's like everyone's like that's in the zeitgeist right now. But getting to do D&D in a castle or on a cruise or like in a haunted house or wherever wherever these places and these games take us, yeah, that's got to be pretty cool.
I've only got one speed, man. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like I've been fortunate to do this on the biggest stages. I've also gotten to do it in the most quiet and intimate. It's just anywhere we get to tell a story together is definitely a win.
Yeah, I would agree. I think not that I'm trying to say that like, oh, it only matters if you're on the big stages, because I think some of the most, quiet, intimate games have like the most hard hitting stories. And it may only be that like, oh, these 5 people are the only ones who know this story. But it's a story that has impact and will last and echo through eternity. Yeah.
You definitely you can't measure yourself or your success. It's like back when people used to talk a lot about the Matt Mercer effect, which hopefully I think has been put to bed, that it's like you can't measure your success or your achievement against that,
Yeah.
because yeah, people will say it's like, oh, I can't do what Mercer does, I can't do what Brennan does, I can't do what I do, and they feel bad about it. And I'm like, well, no, you can't actually. You can't do what Mercer does, and you can't do what Brennan does, and you cannot do what I do, but we can't do what you do. We can't tell your story. We can't
Mhm.
sing your unique song that the world objectively needs. So all you ever got to do is try and put forward the best and most compelling experience for everybody else at the table. And that's not just storytellers, that's players as well. I think a lot of times
Mhm.
players overlook the fact that they are also a vital part of telling the story. So if you're
Mhm.
sitting there at the table like this the whole time, you're not just missing out for yourself, you're actively taking something away from the other people there. Versus it's a chorus. You're all supposed to harmonize, and that's where the music comes from. And it doesn't matter if you're only doing that in the room for you guys or if you're doing it where millions of people are going to see it. I mean, millions of people have seen my stories, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's great that I get to have as far reaching of an impact, but at the end of the day, it still ultimately comes down to who's at the table, you know?
Yeah. And you've been playing from the earliest days of the hobbies, because obviously, I can only claim, oh, Halloween Night 2010 with 4th edition was my first time ever playing D&D in college, and then made the switch to the 2014 5e rules, and that's what I've been rocking. That's what I'm comfortable with. Maybe eventually getting the 2024 rules, or maybe just picking and choosing what I like, and then just stick it in my game and just run it my way. But you've been rocking it since the early days.
Yeah. I'm way older than I look, for those of you that can see the video. And if you can hear it, I'm way older than I sound. Yeah, no, I was there 3,000 years ago, man. Like when the Deep Magic was written, I started playing I've been playing for almost 35 years, like back to 2nd edition. Like I've done it all. It was 2nd and 3 and 3.5. I was a 4th edition refugee. I hated 4th edition. Went over and
Mm.
played Pathfinder for a few years. Came back with 5th edition 2014. Now I'm learning 2024 because everybody expects me to know it because I have an encyclopedic knowledge of 2014, but not 2024 yet. I've also been blessed to do way more Pathfinder second edition, which is a different animal. Here, the con I'm about to go to, I'm going to be playing Tales of the Valorant game. I'm blessed to get to do a lot of different stuff in a lot of different places. So I just kind of soak it all up. But yes, I was there when the deep magic was written. Yes.
Well, that's good. I mean, I know folk like Matt Colville like to talk about like having a good gaming diet, and other guests have echoed it as well. Like if you really want to hone your story crafting and your storytelling, it's like a really good idea to not just like, hey, meat and taters are great, all the time. Like I'm in Texas, I'm wearing my the Big Tex Steakhouse t-shirt that I got from my vacation. Everyone in Texas loves steak, but like, we got to eat other things just besides steak too.
Dude, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and there's two kinds of people in Arkansas because Little Rock has no culture. There's Memphis people and there's Dallas people that you live vicariously through, and I was a Dallas person, so I've spent quite a lot of time in the Metroplex. My sister is still there, in fact, so yeah, I know all about it.
Well, fun fact, for a couple months of my early life, I did consider myself a resident of Little Rock because I was born in Panama in Balboa, Gorman Army Base, and then we moved to Little Rock and were stationed there for a little bit before we made the move to West Germany back when it was divided. So I lived in West Germany for quite a few years where my sister was born, and then we made the move back to the States. So military brat life.
That's but still counts though. Still counts. Yeah, full credit.
Still counts.
And quite frankly, infant you probably got all you needed to get out of Little Rock. And you can check that bingo card and keep it moving. Mm-hmm.
Keep it moving. Check it off on the 50 states card. Perfect.
Look, man, if I land and I go to the airport in a place, I count it as me having been there. Because first of all, you can learn a lot about a place from its airport. But second of all, I'm like if I was on the ground and smell the air, it counts.
Well, that's also a very quick that would be a way to speed run it all, unless the purists are like, no, you actually have to like do an activity in the state, proper outside the airport in order for it to count.
Bold of you to assume that I care what the purists think,
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, on this podcast, the namesake is Sidekicks and Side Quests, so we like to ask all of our guests the first of these questions. Who happens to be your favorite NPC or sidekick character? They can be from one of the many RPGs you've played in, a video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is this character your favorite NPC or sidekick character?
So by NPC or sidekick, I assume we're differentiating from an adversary?
I mean, it could be an adversary, just someone that is not the protagonist or someone that's not being controlled by like a player character.
I mean, well, if you can see the goddess Tiamat back there, she's always with me, and long may she reign. So Tiamat would be my first choice. After Tiamat would come Vecna and then Tasha, probably, in terms of my love in who holds my whole heart. And Tiamat, well, hang on, let me get her. Wait, you said they can or cannot see the video?
This is an audio only podcast.
Imagine that Tiamat is incredible and she's gigantic. And for your sake and solidarity, I'm not going to share her with him. But she's big and she's beautiful. And the reason why Tiamat has such a special place in my life is during the pandemic on my Patreon, I ran quite a few paid games. I ran between 35, 40 games a month for 18 months, which I do not recommend, by the way. That was quite a lot. And it was all level 20. And there's only so many things you can do to challenge a level 20 party.
Sure.
So it very much, the premise was they were mercenaries on a spelljammer. And every week it was like they essentially just had a different mission because it depends on who was there at the time.
Sure.
So I had come up with an adventure where it was like a mining operation or something. I don't even remember what the premise was. And they met the Dark Lady, which is canonically one of Tiamat's manifestations. And so they meet her, they're walking around, they're talking to her. And that group of players were their players were all intelligence was all of their dump stat. Like they were just kind of dumb characters. They were like warlocks and paladins and stuff. And like a lot of himbos. And so I get to the end and it's like, haha, rah, I'm Tiamat. You've fallen into my trap type thing, you know? And when she reveals herself, they're like, our new friend is Tiamat. Yes. You know? And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, we're so pumped. We're friends with Tiamat now. And I was like, are you guys serious? And they're like, yeah, we're super serious. And so I had her roll insight and she's like, wait, they are happy to see me. Huh. And so it kind of turned into this sort of like Dread Pirate Roberts thing where she was like, well, I mean, I could just kill you tomorrow, I suppose. And they're like, cool, come with us. So Tiamat ends up traveling with them on their ship. And at that time, Missy was still the master on Doctor Who, right? So she's just sort of this like mischievous scamp. And so they'd go on missions and Tiamat would be like, you know, they're like, oh, we got to go down there and, you know, take out the bad guy or negotiate. And Tiamat would be like, well, we could just kill everybody. And they're like, oh, Tiamat, you know? So she kind of became this like precocious scamp instead of like the ultimate evil type thing.
Interesting.
And so she kind of has a very special place in my heart for that because I lean way more into the chaos with her and less into the evil. I mean, she'll do plenty of evil, but like right now, because of a long sequence of events, because I do keep a vaguely canonical ordering of how the Forgotten Realms are in my world, especially at a D&D in a castle and the private events I do. I'll have a campaign that I run. I write a new campaign for the year, and then I run that campaign all year. And then I pick one of the various ways that is ended is the ending. And so for one of them, Mind Flayers were the adversary. And at the After Edge, they had defeated the Mind Flayers and they had the Mind Flayer Dreadnought. So they converted it into a temple of Tiamat. So she has her like interstellar like hedonism palace. and they've painted all of the tentacles on the front of it to look like different dragon heads and stuff. And like that's what Tiamat does. She has her flying cathedral of where a lot of you know, insert not PG-13 language here happens on board her vessel. That's what Tiamat does. And then, you know, if you get on her wrong side, well then sure, you know, it goes where it goes. So Tiamat.
Tiamat. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say like, oh, started off kind of like 1980s cartoon depiction. And then like, oh, like Cheers, like, oh, you scamp. Like, oh, that's our friend Tiamat. She's so silly. And then it's like, oh, by the end of it, it's like, oh, boy. Okay. Yeah.
Well, what was it? We did for Idle Champions, we did a series called was it Trials of Dragon Mountain? I think it was Trials of Dragon Mountain, where we did, because, you know, Tyranny of Dragons, one of the things that can happen at the end of Tyranny of Dragons is they're trying to bring her back, right?
Sure.
So we had there were two different groups that were kind of like attacking the mountain from two different sides, and we were going back and forth, speaking of a West Marches thing. And we had this like big grand finale where we had 16 players that all showed up to fight Tiamat at the end. It was like the Avengers on your left type thing. And I warned everybody in advance. I was like, you're probably gonna get to do like one thing, so like make your moment count, you know? And they're fighting, and I have her fighting back. I'm not holding back like at all during this whole thing. And one of the people, because I mean that breath weapon, those 91-point breath weapons, they stack up quick no matter who you are. And they're fighting. And Hope Lavelle played a character named Penelope Halfpint, whose character Penelope and my character Freely, like that when we finally retired those characters, they got married and like went to travel the plains together. But Penelope's whole entire thing was she wanted everybody to be her friend. And so multiple times over the course of the adventure, I had Tiamat show up as the Dark Lady and just kind of talk and antagonize them and, you know, be Tiamat. And Penelope keeps being so sweet and so nice to her the whole time, right? And so they get to the end, they're fighting. We're nearing the end of the time because we're actually doing a broadcast. And Mark Mir is playing Baloth Baratel, and he tries to hit Tiamat with Power Word Kill. And I didn't have to let it go through, but I had it work. And everybody's like, hooray, you know, it worked. And I had her turn back to the Dark Lady, and she's there in front of Penelope, and she's like, I could have kept fighting, you know. And she's like, I know. And then she's like, I stopped for you. And Penelope's like, I know. And then I just had her collapse in her arms and die. And it went from this huge, like, hooray, we've slayed the dragon, to like, oh, wait, what? What? And I'm like, yeah, be a real shame if someone were to like take that huzzah moment from you and actually make you care. You know, me, I'm that person that does that. So yeah, she got a very special place in my heart.
Wonderful. Brilliant answer. Thank you. And then, of course, on the flip side, what's been one of your favorite side quests or B plot elements? Again, same criteria of, you know, an RPG, video game, movie, film, television, literature, etc. And why is this your favorite side quest or B plot element?
In Rise of the Rune Lords, which was a 3.5 adventure that they redid for Pathfinder, there is a detour into a literal haunted house. And when you come into the haunted house, I mean, I think this is a B plot. I mean, you find something in the house that makes you go to the next step of the adventure for sure. But it's like the fact that there's a haunted house, they were just kind of like, it'd be dope if there was a haunted house. I can tell that from the structure. And you come into the house and you hear screaming. And you hear screaming the entire time. And if you make your way up to the attic, you see there is a woman who is clearly a ghost, and she's standing in front of a mirror and she's screaming. And it's a revenant, right? And revenants can't stand their own reflection because they can't stand to see what they've become because they're spirits of vengeance. And it says in Rise of the Rune Lords, if the players break the glass, you will free her from this, but she won't attack you because she's really mad at the big bad. Like the big bad killed her. Now she's, you know, seeking revenge, but she got trapped basically looking at her reflection. And these were the biggest bunch of murder hobos that you God ever created. I mean, they just killed everything and, you know, kill them first and ask questions later type thing, you know? Like so much so I used to have like NPCs like monologue from up on walls and ramparts and stuff like that just so they could finish saying
behind bulletproof glass and blast shields.
Yeah, just like wall of force, let me tell you what I have to say. And they're like, cool, great, disintegrate, you know? So I just thought for sure they would jump this ghost. And the biggest Chad out of the entire group was like, I break the mirror. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, I break the mirror. And I was like, okay. And they break the mirror. And of course she gets out and she's like, I want to go kill that guy. And they're like, cool, go kill him. And again, the way it's written is she will go through and she will just mow down everything and essentially cut a swath to the last guy. And they let her do it. And I was like, this is the closest thing to mercy they ever showed before or after this. It's just for whatever reason, they very much read what was supposed to happen and figured it out. So yeah, that the haunted house, with spoiler alert, if you set the Revenant loose in the attic, she'll help you. Although Rise of the Rune Lords is like 20 years old, so I don't feel that bad about it. Yeah, I'd say that.
That's a pretty cool answer, and especially for them, unless, you know, maybe they had the foresight to be like, well, maybe if we free her, you know, she goes on a rampage and she just makes like a straight beeline to the big bad we have to go fight or whatever.
Look, man, whatever their rationale, they chose correctly.
Wonderful. And then the way that we round out the personal interview section of the show, B. Dave, what are you passionate about and why?
Storytelling. In my mind, storytelling is the thing that makes us human. In the fullness of time, when we find out what crows and dolphins and elephants are saying to each other, they may be telling each other stories, but as of this exact second, we're the only ones that can do that. We're the only ones that can sit around a fire and talk about the labors of Hercules and take real actionable insight about life and our place in it. And that's very powerful. And I'm blessed to get to do a lot of different things. And it seems like they're all disconnected, but I know there is a logical through line, and it sounds more grandiose than I mean when I say it, but it is reducing human suffering. That if one of my stories or something I do or a stream we put on or a book you read or a movie you watch or anything can help a person take their mind off their troubles for a little while, or feel like they're not weird or they're not broken or that there's not something wrong with them for feeling how they feel, and that other people go through the exact same things they go through and ideally overcome those things, then my time on the earth has been well spent. So yeah, storytelling.
Wow. Yeah. Fantastic answer. It's an oft given passion answer from people, but it's always interesting to hear the different reasons why people gravitate towards storytelling. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's never a bad answer to give. It's always interesting to hear people's, takes and rationales and perspectives on it, which is all part of storytelling as well. Because obviously, we're not going to be able to tell every story ourselves, but it is a good idea to listen to each other and hear these other stories and get these nuggets of wisdom to be like, yes, there's something for me to learn from this and to grow as a person.
Which is, again, back to my previous point of not trying to measure yourself and your achievements against anybody else,
Yeah.
because you got to tell your story.
Amen to that. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And now that we've made it through the personal interview section, it's now time to head into some NPC creation.
My body's ready.
And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. So now's the time in the show where we give a shout out to our comfortable patrons and above with a loud hurrah. So to you, Anson Jablinski, and good old mom and dad, we say cheers. Again, these folks donate just at least $2 a month, and they're able to get a shout out on our monthly episodes. But all three individuals that I named are actually considered wealthy tier patrons, which means they get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables, which we have here in NPC creation. So we might get to hear some of the responses used here today. So if you want to learn more about what the levitating platter has to offer as far as our accommodations, I would totally encourage you to go to the show notes below, go to my podcast website, or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. Find out about what we've got waiting for you around the corner. Help us to grow and expand our operations in the levitating platter in this demiplane and worlds beyond. Okay. And I know you said I'm going into this podcast with no preconceptions. I'm gonna shoot from the hip. And
dear
so now,
listener, he did so much to try and prepare me. He was like, "Here's the questions. Here's what's going to happen." And I was like, "Cool. I don't want to know. I'm going to go in completely raw. Have no idea what's about to happen. So you're about to learn what I learned right now."
Perfect. So in this section of the podcast, we want to make a cool NPC and a side quest to be able to give to the community, for everyone to be able to take into their games, for dungeon masters to utilize, for player characters to put in their backstories. But the first question we have to ask in this section of the podcast is, do you have a character locked and loaded that you want to share with us, and we just kind of walk our way through the questions and discover these facets and layers? Or do you got your dice? You want to roll and see what we get off some tables with suggestions that have been given to us by previous guests of the podcast. So it truly is like a community hobby cultural mixing pot, if you will.
Is this is it percentile?
Well, we work our way through the standard array of all the dice. So you get to use every single dice today on this podcast if you choose.
I got good news for you. I've already packed my dice for the con, so I guess I'll let you do the rolling. My body's ready.
Okay, all right. So you want to roll some dice. All right, perfect. Yep. All right. I've got my dice roller right here on my phone showing Mr. B. Dave Walters for proof. And okay, so away we go. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is, what is going to be the name of our character? The first dice we roll is a D20. And I show the camera, and it's a 9, which from our list is a previous suggestion by our good friend Nicholas Cardarelli, who runs the Raised on D&D podcast, and it's pronounced Yohannes, Yohannes, and pronounced Yohannes.
Yohannes, dig it. Okay.
Perfect. And realizing I hadn't filled in some of my blanks, so it's good to catch those now. Let's see, next question. What is the ancestry of our character? Now, if you do have some physical dice, if you do have some percentiles, this is where we get to roll 2d10s for a d100 effect. If you are wanting to roll,
it turns out I do have a set of percentiles still. I have some percentile. I got some d6s. I take that back. I do have a complete set. Right. Oh no, I have lots of dice actually. These are just kind of hard to read, but I have them all, so I guess I can roll.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Here we go. Percentile.
Okay. And you're still okay with the name?
That's
Okay,
what fate.
all right.
That's what fate decided.
I see. All right, not a problem.
Now let's see here. Hold on a second. These are gorgeous but inscrutable, just like me. So let me roll this. Very hard to read. It looks like. Oh, so we got a double single digits here. Single digits. We got two out of 100. Two.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, this would be a triton.
Okay. Got a fish
Yeah.
boy. Okay.
Yep,
Johannes the fish boy. Dig it.
And then let's see the next question. What is the job or role in society that Yohannes, the Triton, would have? This is a regular D10 roll.
Okay, so let's see here. Let me make sure I got Yohannes' name spelled phonetically here. So regular D10. We got 9.
9. Okay. Well, this answer was provided to us by Hannah Wright, who runs the In Between Story podcast. School teacher.
Okay,
So,
we got Yohannes, a Triton school teacher. And now it's going to be a school of fish.
There we go. Perfect. And then let's see. What is going to be the age range of our character? This is where we roll a D8 to kind of get like a rough idea of the age range.
D8, we got. I'm rolling these absolutely gorgeous Norse Foundry prismatic glass dice, which again are beautiful to behold. Not incredibly functional. Again, like me, that is a 4.
A 4, adult. So we have an adult age Triton named Yohannes, who is a school teacher. So with all of these details in mind, when you picture Yohannes, Triton, school teacher, adult, can you describe the physical appearance of this character? It's like, what comes to your mind?
Yohannes is a retired member of the Harpers. She has been everywhere with a coast and decided to bring back what she had to give something to her community. She is like an aquatic Miss Frizzle. Her hair floats green around her head, almost like kelp. She wears a dress that is made out of a net that is an odd fashion choice, but what she knows, it is the only thing that remained of a shipwreck on her last mission that claimed the lives of the rest of her party, as Umberlee decided to call in the debt that she owed for all of her years of good fortune. And now she hopes that by returning here, not too far off the coast of Mintarn, by the way, to help raise a new generation of Tritons, she might somehow be able to atone for the loss of her friends and hopefully make the young kids' lives better and easier than hers, where they'll be able to make new and better mistakes and skip a lot of the pitfalls, the hooks, you might say, that other people bite onto.
Wow, all improvised off the dome. That's amazing. So a former adventurer who lost her friends in a fateful shipwreck and now is a teacher and trying to instill the next generation. Wow.
A Harper, a spy for Waterdeep. A Harper.
Yes, a Harper, of course. Could not forget that. Yes. Brilliant. I mean, is there anything more that you could think to describe her physical appearance? I mean, it sounds like you've done a fantastic job, but I mean, is there any other notes that you're just like, you know what? I think she has this or she has that. Yeah.
I think she is a druid, but mixed with totem barbarian, and she works really hard not to lose her temper. But in her home, she has the anchor of the ship that, even though she wears the net of the ship where all of her friends were lost, she, being incapable of drowning, swam across and found the enemy vessel and ripped up the anchor and used it to bust in the bottom of the ship to sink that too. So she's got the anchor of the enemy vessel that is not at all rusted. It has been well cared for and restored. It looks pristine. It looks decorative. Nobody would know that it was the anchor from a warship or all the lives she used to claim with it. So she still got that too, but she doesn't take it off the wall unless things get serious.
I was going to say, does that classify as a great axe or a maul when
yes.
she uses it?
Yes.
Just yes. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then with Yohannes, if you had to describe her with 3 adjectives, what 3 adjectives would you use?
Calm, haunted, thorough.
And you put the image in our minds of Miss Frizzle, which everyone loves the Magic School Bus. With the Triton children, does she have that sort of Miss Frizzle appearance, or as we've learned with the Druid mixed with a Totem Barbarian, is she a little more with this haunted quality and such, kind of more like stern with the children of like, these are important lessons you need to learn. Well, come on, let's go explore Shipwreck now.
She's so chill. They have no idea. In fact, some of the older kids whisper about it because I don't know off the top of my head how long Tritons live, but some of the older kids, maybe even the parents, remember when she came back to town and have heard the stories over people drinking, but it's like it doesn't add up because they called her the tidal wave because when she came in, she cleaned everything out. But it doesn't seem to add up with the person that is before you now.
Interesting. That's really, man, this is great. This is great storytelling. Like, I'm really intrigued by
I've
this
done this
character.
once or twice. Yes. This, you take this one and use it, you guys. Like she's on the house. I'm already thinking about stuff I could do with her, but yeah.
That's the brilliance of this podcast. My gift, my humble offering to the community. So I love doing this. So I'm jazzed. I'm excited. So, okay. All right. So we got the adjectives. We have the idea of how she appears. And this is the part now where I get to say, and now we get to go back to some dice rolling because we want all of our NPCs to have something cool on their person. So what's going to be a valuable item, piece of lore, secret, or ideal or concept that the character would ascribe to? This is a combination. So you get to roll a D4 for the category, and then you roll a D6 for the particular thing.
I'll roll both. Let's see here in my inscrutable glass dice. For the 4, that is truly difficult to see. A 1 on the 4.
Ooh, okay, that's an item.
And a 5 on the die. The 6. A 5 on the D6.
Okay, perfect. Your answer was provided to us by Allison Kuntz and Ryan Timty, who run the Kids Table D&D podcast. In Yohannes' possession, she has a well-crafted stuffed animal that is the talking doll magic item. So why is this her valuable? Why does she keep this close?
She has a stuffed triceratops from Chult.
Ooh.
Because the mission that put her on the map was to Chult. She broke up a necromancy ring that was sifting the seabed for corpses to reanimate for the dead that had washed into shore. In Tobago, there's 2 different bays, Trinidad and Tobago. They're a dual island in the Caribbean. But on Tobago, there's 2 bays. One's called Blood Bay and one's called Body Bay. Because back when there was still active opposition over who was going to control these things, I believe a Spanish ship was sank, but don't quote me on that. But there was a battle, and after the battle, all of the bodies ended up in one bay, and all of the blood went to another one just because of the way the tides flowed. So that's why there was Blood Bay and Body Bay. So somewhere off the southern tip of Chult, where it seems like there's not a lot down there, there was a place where after bodies that were lost at sea just sort of naturally washed up that way. And these cultists were dredging up whatever was left that the sharks and other detritivores had yet to destroy and creating really nasty waterlogged zombies. And they helped break up that ring. And afterwards, they went drinking at, was it Fort, the hell's the name of that fort in Chult? Port Nyanzaru. Port Nyanzaru. I think so. Well, now they went to a place called Port Nyanzaru, if I'm saying it wrong, although I'm pretty sure that's the main one. And while they were drinking, one of her shipmates, who was a cleric of Tyr, bought her this stuffed animal as a gag, but she never let go of it. And she calls it Pokey because it's a triceratops.
I thought with the Miss Frizzle imagery, you were going to go with Liz, but Pokey's also really good.
Got to keep them guessing. Got to switch it up. Legally distinct. Yeah. Got to change it by more than 20%.
That's true. Awesome. That's lovely. Okay, so one of her dear friends got it for her, and I wonder if she programs certain phrases into Pokey to be able to say to the kids or not.
No, I'm right. It's Port Nyanzaru. Look at that. See what I say? Encyclopedic knowledge.
More than me, that's for sure.
I would say it's her friends laughing. If she squeezes it, there's an audio clip of all of them like laughing, and you hear cups clinking.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay. Woo. Yeah. Way to take a seemingly, just like a common magic item and kind of put that emotional gravitas behind it. Wow.
Friends and listeners who are not familiar, that's the thing I do. I take a thing that you're like, oh, and I'm like, but what if it was like, oh, yeah, that's the thing I do.
Now I just have an image in my head. She's teaching children, and maybe like one of the young Triton kids gets scared, and so she like maybe without thinking, she's like, "Oh, here's Pokey," and then like they're squeezing Pokey, and then they hear the laughter and the clinking of glasses, and they kind of look up at Yohannes, and they're like, "What's that?" And then she has like that 1,000-yard stare look on her face, and she's just like, "Oh, it's all right. Calm down. We're good," sort of a thing.
Hey, good news is you can't cry underwater.
Ooh, I feel like that's like an anime thing, where it's like, oh, it's a good day for rain. It's like you can't cry underwater.
Exactly.
Okay, and then
She definitely would have to have the haunted one background.
Ooh, okay, good call out for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then, of course, we like all of our NPCs to have the bright gold exclamation point over their head, offering up a side quest for your heroes to go and interact with. So, for the last dice roll of a D12, what's going to be the quest that Yohannes is going to offer up or ask player characters to help her out with?
I have largely rolled very low today. That is going to be a 3. 3 on a D12.
3. Okay. Well, this answer was provided to us by previous guests, Skyline Stars. Bank heist for 3 dragon toes with claws is what she provided to us. So is there one last job that Yohannes needs help with?
Yes. So her ship was destroyed by cultists, and one of the things that they stole was there was a dragon leg that they were bringing back as a trophy from up near Northrend. They killed a white dragon and were bringing it back as a trophy. And even though she sank the ship that sank her ship, some of them did manage to escape with some of their spoils. And the name of her group were the Frostfoot, which was ironic because none of them were from anywhere cold. And
the best party names are all ironic and weird.
Yep. Yeah, they were the Frostfoot. And so they stole this thing, and she wants the people to get it back. Not because she wants them to go to Alma and get it back, which is further inland, but still further south on the Sword Coast. Most people don't go down there. It's like south of Baldur's Gate is where Alma is.
I see.
Steal back this relic that meant something to her friends. And she doesn't even necessarily want you to bring it back to her. She just wants you to do something cool with it. Just make sure that they don't get to have it. It's like, I don't even need it. They don't get to have it. That is basically, that's her motivation.
So it was a whole leg, but at this point, only the 3 dragon toes and claws are all that's left of it because they're cultists and they've been using parts of it for nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so in a further attempt to like disrupt them and, hey, they're not going to get to have it, they don't get to enjoy these spoils. And so she sends the heroes off on this bank heist, cult breaking up quest then.
Yep, and if you manage to steal something else in there, you can keep that too.
Okay. Well, because certainly with our side quests, we got to analyze both sides. So certainly, and it sounds like you've already hinted at this, but, the reward for the side quest is really the spoils of it, because she doesn't want anything personally for herself. But is there something that she would want or offer to the hero characters if they ever come back and they tell her like, oh, yeah, we did the thing and like, here's the proof of it, sort of a thing?
She probably would offer whatever was left to Umberly. She thinks her friends died because she owed debt to Umberly. So she would offer this thing that would have been like kind of a token of the memento to Umberly. And if for some reason they fail and they can't get it back, or if it's destroyed, she would instead end up offering Pokey to Umberly.
Ooh, okay. So the failure of this side quest, if they're not successful, is she gives up her valuable item as the offering.
Yep.
Okay. And is there anything else? I mean, obviously, maybe the cultists continue to do their bad things because they weren't stopped. But are there any other further negative ramifications from failure or refusing the call to this particular adventure?
Here's the thing. I didn't want to make it too heavy because it's just a side quest. Otherwise, this becomes the main quest,
Mm-hmm.
So cult is going to cult,
Sure, sure.
Yeah, something bad. They're gonna insert bad thing here.
Sure.
I would say they want to use it to be able to re-summon a draconic spirit, not a full Draco Lich because they've only got the leg, but they're at least if they can even get the like shade of a dragon that they can set loose, it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good ramification. So then you've got this, shadow dragon or ghost dragon or what have you rampaging the countryside.
Yep, which would be bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we've covered what I feel are all the basic questions to kind of nail down an NPC, but I do have alternate questions. If you're good, we can roll on to the next section. Oh, your body's ready. Okay. So for Yohannes, what are the goals and motivations of her as a character?
Make these kids' lives easier than hers have been.
Okay. And then how do these goals and motivations affect her general personality?
Again, I think she is super chill when she's around the children, and she even keeps a facade of being super chill around everybody and like very cheerful until, again, to use an even older analogy than Miss Frizzle, even like a Mrs. Garrett type from The Facts of Life, until you either reveal that you are a particularly capable person, or especially if you know any of the Harper code words. Like if you know that she was the tidal wave, or you can flash her a Harper badge, or like any of that kind of stuff, then the switch flips and like the old her is right there below the surface.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like Batman isn't the mask, Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Right. Okay. Lead in beautifully to this next optional question. So it seems to speak to like, so generally how she interacts with people. She has like the public persona, that's how she interacts with people. But if you're a Harper, you know who she really is. She's going to act or interact with you differently based on like whether you have this particular knowledge or not.
Yep.
Okay. Easy enough. Let's see. Does she have a particular accent or language? Does she have any idiosyncrasies in how she acts or speaks?
Let me check the lifespan of a Triton real quick, because this could be important. Please hold.
One
of the things, Tritons can live up to 200 years. One of the things I hated is that they averaged it out and they're like, everybody lives 70 years now. It's like, stop it. Like, what are you talking about? That's not.
Magic is getting better. Everyone's quality of life is improving.
Look, you know what I mean? First of all, how many characters die of old age anyway? If she can live 200 years, I'm going to say she's about 150.
Okay.
And as a Triton, as a sea creature, you would think she wouldn't know a lot about that, but I would say her area of expertise was actually the Underdark, because the ocean is the easiest way to access the Underdark.
Okay.
She probably knows quite a lot about the Drow, actually, because as a Harper, she probably got sent to keep an eye on the Empire and, skulk around Menzo Baranzan, which, by the way, I was fortunate to meet Bob Salvatore, and he said Menzo Baranzan, and I was like, I always said Menzo Baranzan, and he's like, no, you say it however you want. I'm like, sir, I say it how you say it. So it's not Menzo Baranzan, it's Menzo Baranzan. And I would say idiosyncrasies, it took everything I had to say Menzo Baranzan. I already said I'm from Arkansas. I'm not supposed to know these words. Idiosyncrasies. Man, why can I not say idiosyncrasies all of a sudden?
I found the word that trips him up.
Look, we still didn't get there. That and umbrella, So one of the things about Menzo Baranzan is in Drow society is you can topple a house if you can come in there and kill every single person in a single night. If there's no witnesses, there's no crime. But if anybody lives, you're screwed. So she probably is super, super paranoid about where she sleeps and making sure the house is secure. Like her house looks unassuming, but it is probably like a fortress. And I think she sleeps sitting upright in a chair, like Leon from The Professional, just like ready. And like with that anchor just within arm's reach. She's not holding it. She looks like an old woman that just fell asleep in her chair, but she's anything but.
That's a really cool detail as far as like, I'll just go catch her and, at her house or whatever. I got a quick question to ask her, but it's like, if you enter the house wrong, it's like.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I clearly have a sign.
Idiosyncrasy. What? Wow. Why can I not say that? What? Idiosyncrasy. Yeah. I don't know. My tongue is stunned.
Brilliant. Yeah, and she tapped, and she's like, I have a sign outside that says no visitors past a certain hour.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
She wholeheartedly believes in the castle doctrine, and hey, this is my property. You come here when you're not supposed to be here. Your fault, sort of a
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
And I think it certainly have already been explored, but what impact has Yohannes made on the world? How has she shaped her local area?
It is super safe. Everybody thinks it's just weird that the Sahuagin don't come around here, and like sharks aren't a problem. It's just, man, what a strange, peaceful, idyllic area. And it's because anybody that comes to start smoke, mysteriously stuff just tends to happen to them. And everybody
Okay.
thinks it's just good fortune, blessings of Umberly. And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not blessings of Umberly. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
And then final optional question, does Yohannes have any current problems that prevent her from being a bigger player on the stage?
She doesn't want to.
Mm.
She really thinks it's her fault her friends got killed. And she's actually afraid of putting too big of a spotlight on herself and her good fortune because she thinks the gods will just come and take it from her again.
There we go. We have a fully rounded, fully actualized NPC that's ready to put in your game. And what better way to test their mettle than in a random encounter?
Dun, dun, dun.
This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing, what sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to, well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQPodcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast.
All right, so now we're here in the section of the show where we get to do a bit of role play, a vignette, a scene with the character that we've made here today. So I think B. Dave Walters is going to do an awesome job portraying Yohannes. But the question becomes, who am I going to be in this scene? Am I going to be one of my podcast adventurer characters meeting Yohannes and getting the side quest? Am I going to be like one of the children in her class? Am I going to be an old Harper colleague of hers? Or I don't know. What sort of scene are you interested in showcasing and portraying Yohannes in?
I think you should be a young Harper recruit from Waterdeep who was told that she retired here and took some mission journals with her that might still be relevant, and you've just been sent to get them back.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. I've got my motivation. And okay. So would you care to set the scene, or shall I set the scene?
Off the shores of Mintarn, not too terribly far, where when the sun hits the water at just the right angle, you can actually still see the shattered spires of the castle that were destroyed by the Red Dragon Scouterok in his attack in times long past, when Mintarn was the naval power in this region at the height of its glory, long since fallen into decline. In a place where the ships tend not to sail across, where the water is blue and pristine and even a little unseasonably warm as the tide currents flow through this village. There is a small settlement of Triton. Not many, maybe 50 people in all. And even in this small community, they are abundant and numerous, and a small group of about 10 little Tritons are swimming and playing outside of their elementary school. And there is a woman with flowing kelp-like hair in a wide smile on her face that doesn't quite reach her haunted eyes, wearing an odd dress made out of an old net that it seems, is just sort of watching them happily as you approach. What would you like to do?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm from. I feel like I'm definitely a fish out of water. So I'm. If we're underwater, I feel like I'm someone wearing like a cap of water breathing, and I look very out of place. I'm probably like a human, and I'm just I'm clumsy. I'm trying to look around and just be like, yes, who am I supposed to, where am I supposed to go? Who am I supposed to talk to?
Look at that guy. He got a hat on. He can't breathe underwater. Look at him. He can't even swim right. And she's like, shh, stop, or he is going to laugh at you when you try and walk on the shore for the first time. Are you lost, traveler?
Yes, I am. Hello. Hello. Nice to make your acquaintance. I'm from Waterdeep, and I've been sent here to find someone. I had a note here, and he pulls out like a scroll, like he had the note, but of course all the ink is washed off, and he's like, "Oh bother! Oh, ooh, ooh."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a code, a phrase. He blurts out like part of a code. Like he's just so nervous, and a bundle of nerves. Being trusting this magic item on his head to not suddenly fill his lungs with water and kill him. So he's just kind of like blurting out different parts of the code, not a complete phrase. But yeah, he's trusting this adult to kind of help him out in this situation.
That is enough, children, for today. Oh, yes, I know. Hurry on home. I'm going to help this lost stranger find his way back to his vessel. Yeah, because he swam so bad. Yeah, stop that. You will go right now. I'm going to give you additional homework. Go right now. And you see they all sort of scatter. And she looks at you for a moment and she says, what was that you just said? The tide only comes in at dawn. Was there something else you wanted to add to that?
The title comes in at dawn, and he's trying to go through a couple of different rhymes, and he's getting a couple of them wrong. Where it's like the title comes in at dawn, and so we party on. And he's like, no, that's not right. And so he's like trying a couple of different ones.
While you're stumbling around it, you see she looks at you and her eyes just start to glow a faintly green, and all of the plant life and kelp around you starts wrapping around your legs as she casts Entangle. And she says, you should think well, stranger, because if you don't know what it is that you're supposed to tell me. I'm afraid things are about to become abruptly negative for you, and you definitely feel one of them moving up towards the cap of water breathing to take it off your head.
And he's floundering around, and he reaches for like a coat pocket or like a lapel or something, and he like pulls it aside to flash like a Harper pen. He's just like, I'm nervous. The water. I can't think. And he's like desperately pointing to his pen.
Things must be truly terrible up on the surface if they have to send someone so woefully unprepared to meet with me. And she just motions and the plants let you go. Listen, friend, the reason why the codes exist is to complete them. If you know part of one, you could have ambushed an agent and maybe gotten part of it in the commission of it, or maybe overheard or eavesdropped. The fact that you only know some of it is objectively worse than you knowing none of it.
Oh, he feels so bad, and he's like, I know, I'm sorry. This is my first mission. I know, I'm like book smart. This is my first time in the field. Everyone else is just waiting, and they sent me to do it, and I don't know why they made me come by myself.
It would seem that perhaps your compatriots don't hold you in as high esteem as you might have thought, because I assure you, were it anyone else, your first mission might have been your last. Now, since you clearly don't really know how clandestine operations work, I'm going to allow you to enter my home so that we can speak freely. You should know it is also so that if I need to eliminate you, I don't want to risk one of the kids seeing. And when she motions, you see her arm goes out and turns into an octopus tentacle and opens the door, and then comes back to a normal hand and is like, please, after you.
Of course. And he's just flustered. He's like guarding every word to be like, I don't want to misspeak. I don't want to make her mad. I'm like getting flashes of the stories and reports that I've heard before. I know for a fact, if I can't speak any proper words, I know for a fact not to make her mad. So he goes right into her abode, just as she orders.
And when you come in, she closes the door, and there's a big, heavy bookshelf. And she reaches out with a hand and just gives the smallest little grunt and slides this heavy bookshelf in front of the door. And she says, who is the current Lord Commander of the Harpers?
He rolls his history check, and he does well. So he tells you the correct answer of who's in charge.
Good, my child. I was not looking forward to filling the water in here with your blood. What can I do for you? Take a moment and breathe. None of this. It is unbecoming of a Harper. Focus.
Okay. Yes. Okay. He takes the moment to calm down and breathe, and then he says, I have been sent here to collect some logs. We're preparing for a mission, and we were told, my party was told that a great warrior of our order was here, and that she would have the necessary information for us to undertake and fulfill our mission.
There's nothing great about being a warrior, son. But you see, she sort of like pulls her hair back into a ponytail, and she's like, so far, you have not filled me with confidence about your bravery or your competence. So I have a little mission for you. Should you succeed and do what I want you to do, then I will give you what it is that you have requested of me.
Of course, yes. Happy to. Stamps his, press, does the salute across his chest, and, trying to emphasize, like, yes, I know, I'm a Harper for real. I'm in this.
Yes, yeah. I don't know what they told you about me, and I assure you, maybe half of it is true, but I have no interest in anything negative happening to you. But there is one thing that I care about even more than that, and that is the good of the Harpers. So, and you see she reaches out towards you, and another octopus tentacle comes out and plucks the badge off of your chest and looks at it. And she says, because if you die on this mission, I don't want anybody tracing this back to our beloved order. Now, have you ever been to And there you go.
And scene. There we go. That's the way you do it in the random encounter section. That was breathtaking. I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh, no, it's like, oh, I get to do like one of my podcast characters, but you were like, this is who you are, and I was like, yes, sir. All right, I'm ready in it, and I was like, I think the fish out of the water was the best angle for me to take.
Definitely, because she's a fish, and you're not from water.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've made it here now into the final thoughts section of the podcast. So certainly, we like to check in with the guest and see how their time was on the podcast. But ultimately, how do you think it was getting to be Yohannes now? She could appear in your games now and your canon and your homebrew lore.
I think she is a very fascinating character, and Mintarn has a special place in my heart because the comic book that I wrote, Dungeons and Dragons: A Darkened Wish, is set in Mintarn, and near Mintarn in the Moonshae Isles, because I kind of meant for it to be a love letter to the Forgotten Realms, because they told me I could kind of do whatever, but I knew they wouldn't let me destroy Waterdeep, or if I did. I would have to like rebuild it by the time that the story was over. So I wanted a place that was close enough in the canon, but far enough away that I could mess it up and nobody would complain. And it was only after I'd already made that choice that I found out that the very first Forgotten Realms story ever written, Darkwalker on Moonshae, was set there. So much so it was written before the Forgotten Realms existed, and WotC, I guess at that time it was TSR, bought it and dropped the Moonshae Isles off the Sword Coast. So there's a lot of very secret Easter eggs and old school callbacks in that story. For anybody who is a fan of the OG stuff and knows how to see it.
That's awesome. I know. I definitely like to homebrew and have invented my world. But getting to play finally Baldur's Gate 3, and at this point in time of the recording, I've only done one playthrough. I'm working on a cross-platform co-op with a friend, and I'm hoping to get another run of it on a higher difficulty level with other iterations of the podcast NPCs made from this podcast, or even taking a page out of Tyler Kamstra's RPGbot.net and trying to basically build the worst optimized, ancestry and character class combo, and then do an honor mode and just see like how long I could last before I would get taken out or something like that.
Well, I mean, my main Freely, the one who married Penelope Halfpint, was a bard, paladin, warlock, sorcerer that I played as a thought experiment of a 4-class character that was all based around charisma, and Freely was a monster. Just hit like an absolute truck. So it's I'm at the point now that is like, in my heart I'm a min-maxer, but I've been blessed to do so many things that now I'm like, oh, I'm a sentient ham sandwich being carried around by mage hand. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
At the time of this recording, it'll be at the end of September, but there's a local con that's happening that I'm going to be running games at, FateCon here in Arlington, Texas. And so I've made some pre-gen characters in what I call the misfit nitwits or the regulars. And so it's basically like, if you don't have a character, you can either pick one of the regulars who's like basically a very optimized sort of like pre-gen character, or if you want to challenge, you can pick one of the misfit nitwits, and they're basically like, I had to pick like the worst combo and be like, okay, here's a character that you could play and see how you do in this adventure if you want the extra challenge.
I find I mean, obviously some race class combos work better than others, but there's not any bad race class combos, but there's definitely some non-favorable multi-classes, like like barbarian and any kind of caster is obviously non-optimal, or artificer and almost anything is non-optimal, or like monk and artificer. I mean, artificer is a bad matchup with almost everything, but if you're like, I don't know, the problem is I keep having trouble coming up with bad combinations because I can make anything work, besides being like mad and not necessarily having the best attributes. Besides that, it all works.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fun and interesting to see who takes me up on the offer and does what they do with the character. But all that to say, this is final thoughts. And so, I like to get feedback from the guests and just, how was your time on the podcast and getting to create and play with Yohannes and, so it sounds like, she's going to have a place in your lore, in your world, and hopefully other people will be inspired to introduce her into their games as well.
Anywhere where you need a retired spy, drop her in. No, it's been lovely. It's been delightful. And I appreciate you allowing me to come on and getting to make something that's super dope. I can tell you, I've been blessed to do quite a few podcasts and quite a few interviews, and that is not something I've gotten to do anywhere else. So mazel.
Thank you. Yes. No, I do take pride in the quirky weirdness of this podcast being like, oh, I can have like my colleague, Dr. Holly Ordway, a Tolkien scholar on, and most people want to talk to her about like the Tolkien books that she's written about, but I can just be like, do you want to make an NPC and, talk about Dungeons and Dragons? And she's like, oh, this is delightful. And, I can have friends and family and, other great people in the hobby on. And, at the end of the day, we're learning about people, we're making awesome characters, and we're having fun at the same time. So I would be remiss here at the very end if I didn't leave the soapbox, the microphone, the stage, the platform to you, Mr. Walters, to be able to plug us, what you got going on. It's going to be January 14th, hopefully when this episode drops, if all my timing is right. So any plugs you got to do, where can people find you? How can we stay in touch? And any passions or causes that you want us to know about, lay it on us.
Let's see. Again, thank God we just made it to 2026. If it's mid-January, I will have just wrapped having been an instructor at Dungeon Master University. So that was the thing I did. There's my website, the Undisputed Academy, where I have my courses, 14-day player, 14-day DM, where you can learn how to do what I just did. 14-day TTRPG creator and 14-day writer. So if you want to learn how to write novels, short stories, screenplays, comic books, graphic novels, I'll take 5 years off of your journey into becoming a professional. I'm at B. Dave Walters everywhere on all the socials. My biggest passion is democracy. Don't let anybody take it from you. And because it is more precarious than you think. And just be kind to each other. And last but certainly not least, if you are an aspiring storyteller, try. If you are somebody who is already telling stories, but you're not sure about your skills can be developed. Skills can be built up and honed and perfected. The most important thing is always remember that it is a blessing to get to take people on a journey. It is a blessing to get to share the table with them. If somebody is playing at your table or watching your stream, they are exchanging their time for you, which is literally their life. They're giving up a part of their essence and their existence to listen to what it is that you want to do. And you should always take that very seriously. Always try to do your best with that, understanding that your best is going to look look different day to day. But at the end of the day, it is a blessing to get to do what we do. It is a blessing to get to play these games. It is the blessing to be in a time and a place where this is even available to us. And the last thing I would say, even though I just said a lot of heavy, weighty, heady sounding things, remember that it is a game that you're supposed to enjoy as well. And if you are the storyteller and you're not having fun, something is wrong. And if you're a player and you can tell your storyteller isn't having fun, something is wrong. So make sure that you never lose track of the fact that it is a collaborative art. It is a story that you're telling together. It is art that you're creating together, and everybody should enjoy that ride.
And there we go. That's the way to do it. In the start of our new year, 2026, all up from here is what I will say and what I will work to do in my life and help others do. So, B. Dave Walters, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I can't wait to have you back on, making even more interesting NPCs.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for Side KQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the levitating platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast,
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sidekicks and Sidequests.